parents had some concerns about the scheduling and what classes were going to be offered. And some of our seniors also had some questions about what classes were going to be offered and how are we going to be efficient with scheduling. And it was just good to hear the different perspectives.
That would be interesting to go back to back like that. But also to note for PTO, Josh Wilkie received, what do we call, I missed the title of that
The
award.
Heroes Award.
Our first ever Heroes Award. So that was exciting to be a part of. Mrs. Rigby?
Yes, I attended my first Business Advisory Council meeting, and it was great. It was held at Cardinal Health, excuse me. And in addition to learning more about Cardinal Health, its origins, how it came to be, just really a fascinating company who does a lot of work in the Dublin community, the cyber program at Emerald, the Ohio Tech Day participation, and all of the internship programs. But my favorite part is just getting to watch the students interact with these companies who bring such value to this community, and they are so eager to learn how our students are developing along their pathways to possibly intern or get some kind of, early employment with these companies. So it was a great first meeting, and I'm really happy to be a part of that committee.
Thank you. Student representative update.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Here is our student report for today. I'd like to begin by recapping some general events that occurred across the 3 high schools. Starting with last Friday, students were very thankful for the snow day. Everybody loves some extra sleep. Students began scheduling courses for the next year with their counselors. And additionally, all 3 high schools have scheduled curriculum nights for 8th graders later this week. Kaufman and Scioto had theater performance this week as well. At Kaufman, they had You Can't Take It With You, a comedy. And Scioto performed 1776, a comedy on the signing of the Declaration of Independence. At Kaufman, some school spirit in support of MLK Day and Holocaust Remembrance. Students were writing their hopes for the Kaufman the World on butterfly papers displayed in the cafeteria, and they also had a candy cane winter formal dance. At Jerome, some extracurriculars. The Model UN team competed at Columbia University and won the first place prize at the Competitive International Conference. The Red Cross Club is hosting a Totes for Hope donation drive this week to benefit veterans at the Columbus MVAC. Finally, at Scioto, students began scheduling with their counselors. And finally, we began reaching out to middle school administrators, like principals, in an effort to better represent the middle school body. And we hope to begin meeting with them and begin meeting with the students. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that update. It sounds like exciting things going on. You're a senior, so you're probably not scheduling anything. What about the juniors in the back? Like any reference for it's going well or it's going smoothly or? Okay, that's exciting. Also, I'm so glad you guys got a snow day thanks to Dr. Marshausen here. And the Instagram comments, I have to say, have been quite entertaining to read. Anyway, moving on to report and action items from the superintendent. Dr. Marshausen, you're up.
Just so that the students are aware, I don't even have an Instagram account. So when it comes to those Instagram encouragement, it all depends on the weather. And we will be up bright and early tomorrow, hoping that it's just rain and not ice. I'd also like to thank Mr. Stark and his crew for Friday morning, all the work that they did to ensure that all of those performances could take place in our theaters on Friday and Saturday, that our athletic teams could get in on Friday and Saturday, that DYA was able to use our spaces over the weekend, that they got playgrounds plowed so that if we got outside today, we could get outside. So all of this doesn't happen without a dedicated crew in our operations department making sure that we're able to safely get into our building. So, Mr. Stark, thank you, and thanks to your team, and to our bus drivers who often are the ones who we're talking to at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning as they make their way in from all parts of our area to give road conditions to Mr. Stark and I as a team of probably a couple dozen people are all involved in that decision, that it's not just, you know, me sitting there deciding if we're going to go to school in the morning. So, Jeff, thank you to you and your team. Also, thank you to our board members as we continue to celebrate Board Appreciation Month. I believe you have some sweet treats, and we also thank you for your time at the retreat that we had this afternoon as we work on setting those board norms and how we function in an ever-changing, ever-evolving time. We definitely couldn't do this without having 5 wonderful board members who are dedicated and come together to serve our community. We've talked a lot over the last several months about the ongoing housing crisis in Central Ohio and in Dublin. And as we talk about a housing crisis, we talk about it from 2 perspectives. First of all, there is not enough housing. And secondly, when they build new houses, often it comes with an increasing cost for our community, as those houses often bring families and children that we then have the opportunity to educate. As we've talked about this, and it's only been a couple months since the levy, we have really gained traction and notice from the municipalities and the builders in the area. Last week, we had a meeting with the superintendents at the regional level to discuss the City of Columbus's Community Reinvestment Area CRA legislation. There are now conversations taking place at the State House as we look for ways to ensure that affordable housing can be brought to Central Ohio, but not at the expense of the school districts. And often the tool used by developers to incentivize the affordable housing gives away the school district's money. So as we educate not only our community, we are also educating municipal leaders and in some case our state legislators on how school funding actually works and that process and what it means for us. I've also had the opportunity last week to meet with President of Rockford Homes, representative from Epcon Homes, lots of commitment from the builders to increase communication about potential developments further in advance during the process. And I'd like to thank our municipal leaders in Concord Township and Delaware County for sending them to us, because as plans have made their way to some of our municipalities, the municipalities are saying, hey, we're going to pump the brakes because we want you to go talk to the schools. And my goal is to bring these developers to us as a board and have them make presentations to either our finance committee or to the board as a whole. It's my understanding that prior to my arrival, we had folks from Nationwide Realty in Jerome Village who once a year would come and give an update to the school board to talk about the plan so that we could better prepare. That's all we're asking for, is a seat at the table to be made aware so that as we look down the road at elementary 16, middle school 6, potentially high school 4, and the significant costs that come along with that type of growth, having a seat at the table, being part of those conversations is critical. And finally, I would be remiss, and I continue to say this, our partners in the city of Dublin get it. They understand, and we are grateful that we have that active line in communication where Mr. Kern and I and Mrs. Gillis get to meet with the city leaders on a monthly basis. I have lunch tomorrow with the city manager, and as we continue to have that ongoing partnership with the city of Dublin, it's a model of how we hope it would be everywhere. Members of the board, any comments on growth, housing, anything else you'd like to see from us?
I just want to thank you for taking an active role in connecting with the townships and builders and giving us a voice in this situation. It's much appreciated.
And thanks to Cassie, it was one blog. And we posted, and people come, and apparently at the Concord Township meeting, there was a citizen who read the blog at the P&Z meeting about the costs. So when you look at how do you communicate in mass, we're getting the word out, and it's a team effort, and thanks to Cassie and her team for helping share that message. And Mrs. Gillis will probably be calling on all of us to continue to talk about the impact on taxes as we get more young people in our district. And we want to be clear. We are not trying to close our borders. We are not trying to say we don't want more kids. We just need the funding when the kids come. And abating it is a problem. So we understand that Central Ohio is growing and we're part of the Central Ohio region. We just need to make sure that the adequate funding comes with the students so that we can provide the Dublin education that has become so synonymous with what our name is and why people want to move here. Elementary 15, if you could mark your calendars.
Dr. Marshalson, sorry. Do you have any idea when we can expect a presentation by one of these developers, like, the first one to come and talk to us?
I think EPCON would be willing to come in February if I asked them if they'd like to come. So we can do that quickly, and then it's just a conversation. Is it a board meeting? Is it a finance committee? Where do we want to have that conversation take place? As we continue to look at growth, Elementary 15, the groundbreaking is scheduled for April 25th. We would ask the board to move the work session to Jerome High School. We will have shuttles that will take us over for the groundbreaking and then back to Jerome High School for the meeting. Also at this meeting, we have identified five potential names for the new elementary school. And right now, we have students at Grizel Middle School who are researching those names, who will give the board a presentation on the background behind the potential names. You will be able to ask them questions about the individuals or area that the name potentially could come from. And as this is a work session, it'll be an opportunity for us as a leadership team and you as a board to talk about what those names are with the kids and their teacher, with the hope of in May then approving the name for Elementary 15, which gives us the time that would be necessary to be able to start getting signs, to start working through the process and everything that has to go along with adding another building to our ranks. So again, thanks to, I charged Mrs. Dietrich to come up with a process. My understanding is naming things in Dublin has always been a bit of a process. So is there a good way to do this? And we thought there was no better way to get students involved and to do the research and to bring that research to us as a board. The other thing is they're really good at social media. So if there's something out there, we'll find it. Because if you put kids on it, they're really good at it. So looking forward to April 15th. It should be a fun date. And by then we'll be moving dirt, right, Mr. Stark? Like, the groundbreaking will be the official groundbreaking, but it's not like we're going to step into a place that hasn't been disturbed yet. We'll be moving dirt, and you'll start to see some things moving around at that point. Any questions on Elementary 15?
Are you, okay, board meeting at Jerome?
Yep. Mr. Kern and his team have been working for several months, and we've passed a resolution as we work with our partners at the Dublin Education Foundation. Going back several years, over a decade, there was Pepsi money that was given from the district to the foundation. control of that money was an issue, and we've settled that. And the team worked really closely and really well with DEF to make sure that we're aligned with the purpose and we're aligned with the legal requirements for that money. As we move forward, DEF grants, which are so important to our teachers, which allow our teachers to fund those special projects that increase student success, what we're proposing to meet the requirements of the law under the money that's now with the Columbus Foundation, and also the requirements for accepting gifts from outside support agencies, is that the DEF grants would be approved by the board. This meets both of those requirements, and it allows us to treat all of the grants the same, even if the money was coming from the interest from the foundation or if it was being approved as a gift from DEF to the school. Mr. Ulring and Mrs. Althouse will lead the process with the principals on the grants. They will provide recommendations to me, and then I'll make those recommendations to the board. It also gives us an opportunity to celebrate and thank the Dublin Education Foundation for their work and their partnership in what we do in our schools. So when DEF grants are given, the board may not have known in the past what the grants were, who's getting the grants. Now we can celebrate together and thank our partners at DEF for their donations. This is similar to when we thank the boosters for their donations, both music and athletic boosters, or when the PTO makes a donation for improvements at one of our facilities. This allows us to bring all of those important support organizations under the same process and umbrella, so we can make sure that everything's above board, everything meets the legal requirements, and we celebrate and recognize and thank those who work so hard to provide those extras for our district. Any comments or thoughts?
Just one question. Could you just explain for the benefit of the public what Pepsi money is?
Yes, I will take that. So there is two separate, when we talk about December 11th, if we approved as the Columbus Foundation as the trustee, and when he talks about Pepsi monies, we have a fund 029 that is on our books and will continue to be on our books, even though Columbus Foundation is managing it from an investment standpoint. Is that was started, and actually it was a board resolution, I believe, to create this back in 2007, I believe, to bring that money back into the control of it. And that was funded and started with monies that, rebates that were given at the time, about $195,000. From a Pepsi distributor in the contract to be the sole distributor of Pepsi is throughout our vending machines at that time throughout the district. And so they work in parallel with each other. This $195,000 is the principal amount. We are only allowed to spend of that money's the interest on that. And so as part of this approval of the teacher grant process, you are then agreeing that we can use the interest earned to spend on some of these teachers' grants. And that's also, as part of the Columbus Foundation, as be able, part of their processes as well, to be able to use that. Now, there's two separate, in the sense of DEF, in the sense that they also have their own separate fundraising outside of this that they have done over time too, that is separate. But even though we kind of all work together for the same common goal of teacher grants that are provided.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite Lori Misi up to the podium to share some of the information from the Rise Up Award. Lori, it's hard to believe it was just last Monday we were in New York City for this presentation. It's been a long week, but take it away and give us a recap.
Okay, there we go. I was shouting, but now I can talk like a normal person. So Rise Up is a curriculum sponsored by the National Retail Federation Foundation in an effort to promote awareness and participation in retail industry. In addition to the retail-related curriculum, it also offers a really rich curriculum in skill sets, like customer service, problem solving, collaborative group work, really essential for any pathway. So it's that combination that several years ago led the ODE at the time to approve this also as an alternate pathway to graduation. So in addition to being this retail-focused curriculum, students can use this curriculum as an alternate to graduation if they want. Before I continue to share how Dublin came to be named Rise Up Partner of the Year, I invite you to watch this video that NRF made about Dublin's story.
Or when they graduate high school. Rise Up training allows our students to have those experiences they need to be successful in the world when they graduate high school.
This is a program that really meets the needs for our kids because it helps develop skills that they did not know that they could use and jump right into the work world.
I learned about customer service. I learned how to treat customers, how to respect them, and when they're angry, you know, how to talk to them. Simple. I just remember my training from Rise Up.
I've been learning a lot about how to communicate with people and do customer service.
I worked with a team here at the Emerald campus to combine the Rise Up curriculum also with some lessons on resumes, lessons on LinkedIn, lessons on interview tips, and have a 4-week summer boot camp course.
The Rise Up boot camp was a phenomenal experience. The value of being part of the Rise Up program is being able to bring those students in, show them the behind the scenes of what it takes to work in the grocery industry.
They showed us how they moved the shelves here and there for new products. They also just talked about if we were to work there, what kind of benefits we could get. It was really fascinating.
We were able to come in and meet with the students and faculty and help students prepare with interviewing skills and resume building.
The skills for that program helped me be more prepared for an interview when getting a job.
The students in the summer boot camp earn 12 points. That actually gets applied to them in the state of Ohio to earn graduation credit.
Earning the Rise Up credential made me feel really great.
There are so many jobs that are part of retail. It's math, it's science, it's technology.
For our community partners, they know they're getting young people that are well-trained, ready for what's next.
Having the partnerships with industries like Big Lots, Kroger, we're really able to provide those immersive opportunities for students.
I would highly recommend this class. It's just so fun. Every day we're doing something new that you're not getting in any other class.
Rise Up has been instrumental in helping our kids gain an additional pathway towards graduation.
I thought I was failing and I wasn't going to be able to graduate, but I'm sure I'll be ready because of Rise Up.
It opens doors, it fosters dreams, it helps kids think about a better tomorrow.
I would say join it. It's a really good program. It teaches you a lot.
The sky is the limit when it comes to the National Retail Federation and how they can help this generation of student.
I want to congratulate Dublin City Schools for being selected as the NRF Foundation's Rise Up Partner of the Year, creating these opportunities for your students and showing them a retail career in Ohio. Well, it can look pretty good.
Okay. Hopefully in that video, you were able to hear not only the adults, but really the students and the impact it's had on them. And that's just a small sampling of...
I've never been to New York City before, so I'm excited for the whole...
Yay. So the student impact, they're getting a really meaningful experience. And again, as you heard, not only to help them with that graduation pathway, but really learn some of those essential skills that will be important in whatever they choose to do. So next, sorry. All right, so Rise Up is in over 900 schools just in Ohio. That's just us, Ohio. They're across the nation. And Dublin was very fortunate to be named Rise Up Partner of the Year. And when Rise Up, the committee shared with us why they selected Dublin. They had a lot of great examples, but there are two I really want to share with you this evening. One is our accessibility for students. And so when we started this Rise Up program, we were really looking at students who needed this pathway to graduate. Working in small groups with them at their respective buildings, working with the counseling team, the intervention specialists, the EL, a lot of people involved in helping students who needed this pathway. From there, we were able to grow this into that boot camp model that was referenced in the video. This gave students an option during the summer to come in. A lot of them were juniors getting ready for senior year and be proactive. How do I think about my graduation now if this is something I'm going to need? And the boot camp also allowed us to facilitate those partnerships and that immersive learning. And lastly, and most recently, we've found a way to embed this curriculum into courses that already exist. So in partnership with our business teachers across the district, they were able to look at the curriculum provided as part of this program and think about that alignment possibility within courses they're already teaching. And so it now exists in two of our business courses, Intro to Business and Marketing. To date, 290 credentials have been attained, and of those, 170 seals. So 170 students have earned the necessary requirements needed for that graduation pathway. I mentioned in the boot camp and on the video, they talked about the partnerships. And this was one of the other reasons that NRF really felt that Dublin was implementing this program in an innovative way. And this is in partnership with Gordon Goff from the Ohio Council of Retail Merchants. He's also on our Business Advisory Committee and really was instrumental in facilitating some of these experiences for students. And so when we were able to do this boot camp, not only were students learning this curriculum in the classroom, getting those skills, but they got to go do the site visits with Amazon, with Kroger, hear from the individuals at Walgreens, at Big Lots, to really bring this curriculum to life and understand what this pathway could look like, but more importantly, what skills they were learning that would help them be successful in any pathway. So last weekend we were able to go to New York, so that will be the next slide. So this is a big show for retail. This is part of a big program where the first part of the weekend is really focused on students at university level. They're recognizing students pursuing retail pathways, and one of the really great situations that happened this year, we had a Dublin alum, Michelle Lee, who was a finalist for one of their scholarships. So even though she did not win the actual award, she still won $10,000 to really help her in those next steps towards retail. So as part of this program, they host this gala to recognize the student finalists for the scholarships as well as the Partner of the Year, which was Dublin. And it's a really great evening celebrating individuals in retail, but they're very, very complimentary on Dublin's success and what we're doing to help prepare students in this path. That segues into what's called the Big Show. And this is for the actual retailers. So this retail Big Show has been running for 113 years in New York City. Participation from 6,200 plus retailers and over 1,000 exhibitors, really demonstrating the what's next in retail. So we were very lucky to get to be part of that, and as part of it, we participated in an interview podcast with the CEO of Walmart USA, John Furner. We were joking because before us, he was meeting with Magic Johnson, sharing about his story and that retail, and after us was the Kugel CEO. And so here's Dublin City Schools in the middle of these two individuals. And it's easy to think like, wow, look at them, but they were, wow, look at you all, and look at the great work you're doing with students. And they were incredibly just impressed and very interested and excited about what we were doing. And so That was a really great experience. But I think it all goes back together, the values, the beliefs, and the outcomes. This program is aligned to those things, teaching students the responsibility, how to keep growing, and that better together. This work was possible. Counselors, assistant principals, teachers, community, and students. And so just great overall experience and really great for Dublin and the students here. That's it.
Thank you. Can I ask you a question? Yeah, sorry. How do students get involved with Rise Up?
Yeah, so we have 3 ways that they can get involved. One, counselors will work really closely looking at students who may not be quite at the graduation point, whether it's because of testing or they've moved in. So students who move in are also trying to catch up. And so those counselors at the buildings, they'll work with those students individually. We have it embedded in the 2 business classes. And then for the boot camp during the summer, we send information out to our families as well as counselors and teachers who can then encourage students to sign up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
And Lori and Mrs. Gillis will be presenting information on this Rise Up at the Consortium of State School Boards National Conference in Dallas in the middle of February, and Gordon Goff will be joining us for that presentation from the Ohio Retail Merchants Association as we share at the national stage what we're doing together. And Lori and I made connections with the folks from Philadelphia who had won it the year before. And we hope to be able to continue some of these conversations as we get a group of Rise Up districts who serve different groups of students from different size districts across the country, because that collaboration allows us to learn how they do things like their BAC, how they tap into partners, and some of the opportunities that they give students to earn these credentials and get the points that they need to be successful graduates. Because as we talk about our mission statement, it's to prepare students for success, and this is a program that directly prepares students to be successful when they graduate.
Thank you.
You have anything else?
That's all I have other than a agenda item that needs approval.
All right, item 4B, approval of fee for Adrian Mendoza's PD workshop. It's recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approve the professional development workshop fee for Adrian Mendoza. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have no idea who said those, so I'm just going with it. Awesome. All right, call the roll, please.
Mrs. De Silva,
Yes.
Mrs. Rigby,
Yes.
Mrs. Messick,
Yes.
and Mrs. Gillis.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. Reports and action items from the Treasurer's Office. Mr. Kern.
Yes, I do have one action item this evening. It is the approval of the December 31st financial report. As you can see from the general fund, we are online, or within estimates of at this point of the year for both revenues and expenditures. This, and along with a bunch of other data, I think I may have mentioned this before, but tomorrow, if you recall from the December 11th meeting, you gave us authorization to be able to issue bonds. We have already issued $15 million of notes, but we are also going to be issuing $95 million of bonds that are set to price in a couple weeks. But our bond rating meeting is tomorrow with S&P, and so Dr. Marshall and myself, along with Mr. Valentine and Mrs. Gillis, from the Finance Committee, will be presenting to S&P tomorrow as part of that process. We've already AAA rated, and we believe with our passage of the levy and our strong management process that we should be able to maintain that AAA rating. It is a grueling, it's probably about an hour and a half, 2-hour meeting, going through lots of questions and stuff for that. And lots of information's already been provided to them, but it's a good process.
All right. approval of the December 31st, 2023 financial report. It is recommended that the treasurer that the Board of Education approve the attached December 31st, 2023 financial report. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Messick. Second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Rigby. Questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Messick?
Yes. Sorry.
Mrs. Rigby?
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
And Mrs. Gillis?
Yes, motion passes 4-0. Reports from the Department of Academics and Student Learning. Deputy Superintendent.
We have no reports or action items this evening.
All right. Teaching and learning. They're all good. No, nothing. All right, we're going to go ahead to Department of Operations.
Hi. I have a couple items for approval tonight. The first one deals with Elementary 15. This is GMP number 3. So GMP is, guaranteed maximum price, and this project will have, we're forecasting is 6 GMPs. And the reason there's so many is as construction documents come available, we are ordering them. We package it together and order it because this is a fast-moving project, and in today's construction world, there's some longer lead times. So this GMP is for the concrete, structural, masonry, and steel. GMP number 2, I think, was for the HVAC and electrical needs, and GMP number 1 was most of the earthwork to fill in the pond that's there and everything else. So this one is for $5.4 million. GMP number 4, which will be in about a month and a half, will be the largest one. That's 30 million plus. That's going to be the major one that's coming. But we anticipate physically breaking ground in about 6 weeks, first week of March. We're real close to final permitting from the City of Dublin, and then we will get that piece started. The other item for approval tonight deals with one of our other 44 bond projects that we have that the voters granted us, and this is the tennis court refurbishments. So Jerome High School, Grizel Middle School, Davis Middle School, Carr Middle School, all will be getting new tennis courts. And in addition to this, because it was kind of an add-on from our last project that the board approved, which was asphalt, we're awarding this to EMH&T engineers, recommending to the board. And we're also, as part of this project, going to have them redesign Jerome's parking lot, which is already scheduled to be re-asphalted. But while we're doing it with all the changes there, it's just not as efficient as it can be. And the principal and operations agree there's some safety concerns we have. So this is for the design. Our plan is to design this year, publicly bid it late this year, and then begin all of it next year. And this will be for about $201,000. And one last thing before I vote, and this is really Mr. Boney's piece here, but we're very, very proud of this, is you'll notice on tonight's agenda, we have 3 maintenance jobs that's been open for very, very long, and it's a challenging thing in this market to fill those. And we had some of our grounds team volunteer to help maintenance during the winter months. And I just want to a special thank you to Eric Ward. Eric Ward is our head of maintenance, and he really took the time to mentor those who came over, train those who came over, really make them part of the team. And 3 of them have put in for the role, and we have 3 promotions tonight. So we filled it internally, and it's also career progression because it's for them, and we'll be posting those ground roles tomorrow. So anyway, just a big thank you to Eric. He's only been in the job for a year and really put together a schedule for the training. So that's all I have. Thank you.
And then, I don't remember where I read this, but for the tennis courts, it's Jerome, Carr, Davis.
Jerome, Grizel, Davis, and Carr.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Just one question on timing. I know you said next year. Are you thinking that the Jerome parking lot will be finished before the start of school next year, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what our plan is, we're getting all the design for all of this done this year, and we'll get the public bidding done this year too. The reason we put it out a year is not only to get the reservation with the contractor, because it's real tight right now, but typically sometimes you get some better pricing when you do it ahead, because they start to get their schedule made. But yes, all these projects will have to be done before the start of school. The tennis projects, we will work with each individual athletic director to make sure, while they'll be done next year, we want to make sure it's done not in conflict with any part of the sport or anything like that.
And thanks to Mr. Stark, he met with Dr. Schwanke and I, and we met with our principals in grade level bands to talk about, are there things at their buildings that living in them every day really needed to be improved? And one of the things Mr. Arn said, and if you've visited Jerome's parking lot when it's full, it really doesn't make sense. So Jeff and his team listen to the principals, and if there are things that we can improve, part of always growing is getting better, and we had to redo the parking lot anyway.
Yes.
So this is one of those that to have that redesigned and to talk about the flow from the north lot to the east lot, and are there things that can be done better in that space now? It's a heavy lift, but it's something that at the end, when you think about 2,400 kids being on that campus, is very well worth it.
All right. It is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approve items 8A, approval of resolution elementary 15 GMP 3, and 8B, approval of resolution design award bond project tennis courts / Jerome High School parking redesign. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Rigby. Is there a second?
Second.
So moved by Mrs. De Silva. Questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Rigby?
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mrs. Messick?
Yes.
And Mrs. Gillis?
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. Reports from Human Resources.
Good evening, members of the board. I'll start tonight with the certified agenda. On tonight's agenda, you'll see an administrator resignation along with an administrative hire. The first one, Ms. Schweitzer will be accepting an open and vacant teaching position in our district next year. The administrative hire is a replacement of a position that became vacant this past fall. These positions do not represent additional headcount. We've been able to start our hiring for the 24-25 school year, and 4 of those positions that you see on tonight's agenda are in Mr. Andrus's department. Every year around this time, we begin the process of getting ready for summer work. Those items that are on tonight for your approval represent the beginning of the staffing process, primarily in the student support services area. And then the supplemental items that are on tonight's agenda, they primarily cover sports for fall of next school year. You'll also see a few spring items on as well for your approval. Moving on to the classified section, you'll see 2 resignations and 2 retirements. The retirements, the first one is for Brooke Farthing, who retires a bus driver from our district with just over 23 years of service, and then Bonnie Perrell will retire from our operations department with just over 5 years of service. And we want to thank them for their time and dedication to Dublin City Schools. You'll also see a handful of salary changes and then a request for unpaid leave on tonight as well. And then moving on to stipends, there are 3 that are on tonight for your approval. 2 of them cover summer school programming, and then 1 is a revision of a previously board-approved stipend from August 28th, and it adds 1 person that was inadvertently omitted when this was approved originally. And that concludes the HR portion for tonight.
Thank you. It is recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education approve items 10A, approval of personnel certified, 10B, approval of personnel classified, and 10C, approval of stipend requests. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Messick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. De Silva. Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Messick?
Yes.
Mrs. De Silva?
Yes.
Mrs. Rigby?
Yes.
And Mrs. Gillis?
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. Public information. All right, Cassie, thank you. Future agenda items. Nope. Is there any items I already asked you guys that. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Rigby, second by Mrs. De Silva. All those in favor say aye.